Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to episode 31 of Extreme Evocast, an all-purpose Pokemon podcast where we talk about news, trivia, and everything related to Pokemon. Good morning, for me at least. I managed to wake up early today, which was very nice. I woke up at like 8 o'clock in the morning, which is early for me. I know it might not be early for some people, so I'm doing this recording of Evocast pretty early in the morning, which is nice because I never get to wake up early. Or not that I don't get to, it's just I struggle with waking up early. Personally, I am not a morning person by any means. Once I wake up, once I actually get my butt out of bed, I can be fine. I can do whatever. I don't take a while, to get motivated. I can just sit down and start the day as I normally do. But my problem is getting out of bed. And that's why me recording an episode of Evocast so early in the morning is good. It's good. It sort of gives me an opportunity to be a little bit more prepared, for me to be a little less tired, for me to, sort of take it a little more seriously, which I think is better in the long run. Today's episode is going to be sort of a combination of unorthodox and orthodox, I guess is the right word for it, because it's kind of a weird episode, I think. Sort of a topic that I wasn't prepared to talk about, really, but happens a lot more than you would think. And if you don't understand what I mean, wait until I get to the actual topic of today's episode, and you'll understand. So, stay tuned for that. But of course, before we do that, we have to get into the news. But before that, I have an announcement, or at least some good news. I'm on my new computer. If you hear some things are a little different, mainly the background noise is a lot quieter, I think, at least as far as I can tell doing my tests. This is the first time that I'm recording an episode of Evocast on my new PC that I built. And I'm very, very excited about it. It is like a much better PC than anything that I've ever had, and I spent quite a lot of money on it. So I'm hoping that it helps with my Evocast production. I know last episode, I think I mentioned that it wouldn't really have an impact on Evocast because it's literally just my voice and my microphone is the bottleneck. But what I didn't really think about is that my old laptop, the thing that I was recording on, a while ago, was very, very loud. The fans in it were super, super loud. They made a lot of background noise, and I normally had to sort of noise reduce the file, which could make it a little bit more. It could sound a little bit weird. There was one episode, I don't know what episode it was, where I cranked it up a little bit too high on accident, and I totally screwed with the episode, and it ended up sounding really, really weird at some points. It sounded really compressed when my voice was really loud. And that was just something that I was not comfortable with. I really, really did not like when that happened, and I really didn't like having that background noise, because when you're a listener to a podcast, you don't want that, that noise, the fan in the background. It's very annoying, at least for me. I really don't like when I can hear that in the background. It really messes with my, just the way that I listen to things. I don't like it. And I mean, my new PC is very quiet. It's because it's a tower, it's not a laptop. The fans are really quiet. I was able to spend money and actually invest in some fans and a cooling system that's very, very quiet. I mean, they're running right now, and it's 2 feet or not even 2 feet away from my microphone, and it's I can barely even hear it. You might be able to hear a little bit. I mean, I have my overhead fan on, and there's some subtle background noise, but it's not a constant fan, which is very, very nice. I'm very, very thankful for that. So hopefully that should, improve your Evocast listening experience. I sure hope it does. I know that it will increase the quality of things and will make it a little more enjoyable for you. Anyway, let's get to the news for today. Of course, most of the time, like, relating to the topic of today's episode, which is not having anything to talk about. Yeah, I'll get more into detail about it in a little bit when I actually talk about it. But sort of the way that Evocast tends to go is if there's nothing going on, most of the time it's just news. And it's up to me to decide what to talk about. Because there's a lot of things that I could talk about. Last episode, I talked about the 5th Pokemon movie. I talked about Twilight Wings. I talked about... that's news. That's a thing that comes out. That's a thing that Pokemon can control. Stuff like movie reviews and type review, what happened last time, and talking about, say, like Pokemon and Smash for the 1-year anniversary, stuff like that. That is things that I can control. And when I don't really have any news to talk about, it generally tends to just become those. It becomes the things that Pokemon cannot control, things that I choose to talk about. And there's an off chance. There's sort of a opposite effect in that sense, where there's some things that I can talk about, but I don't have anything to talk about that I can control. And that is the case for today's episode. So stick with me. Not that this episode isn't going to be full of stuff, but I'm going to get into it later. First, let's just talk about the news. There's a lot of Pokemon Go stuff, of course. As this podcast goes, if you're a longtime listener, you would know that I talk about Pokemon Go pretty much primarily on this podcast, not on purpose. I mean, it's just that Pokemon Go is chock full of updates, chock full of events and things going on. Of course, there's other things like Pokemon Masters, Pokemon Rumble, the TCG, the anime that get updates every so often. And I do mention them, but I don't usually talk about them to the extent that I should. And that's just because I personally am not interested in them. And this is more of a personal podcast. This isn't a news podcast. This isn't a review podcast. It's in the little slogan that I say in the beginning of every episode. It's an all-purpose Pokemon podcast, where we talk about everything. And I want to balance those things out. And if I talked about every single possible news thing that came in, every single new little bit of information that came out regarding Pokemon in the past 2 weeks, every episode, the episodes would be 2 hours long. And I don't want that. Personally, I play a lot more Pokemon Go than the other games. And I think that is the case for most of my audience. I don't even think I know a single person that plays Pokemon Masters. Not that, okay, that's not true. There's a few of my mutuals on Twitter who I've seen play Pokemon Masters, but none of my close friends play Pokemon Masters, but they all play Pokemon Go. And same with Pokemon Rumble, same with the TCG. I know a few people who play each, but I think that, if you don't play Pokemon Go, I'm so sorry that you have to listen to so much Pokemon Go news on this podcast. But I think that, one, it's interesting to me, and two, it reaches a wider range audience that I think that is more important to the overall viewing pleasure of this podcast. So that is the way the things are going to be going from now on, the way they've always been. Pokemon Go is the primary thing we talk about in the news section, unless there's a huge thing going on, like a new Pokemon update. But other than that, Pokemon Go just tends to get the most attention from Game Freak, at least right now, and it's a thing that I enjoy talking about the most, so there you go. Anyway, on the news of Pokemon Go. So there's a few big things going on. First of all, there is a little event going on where, if I could find it, Illumise and Volbeat have swapped locations. Today... Oh no, what day was this? Oh shoot, okay. I didn't read this beforehand. Normally whenever I read things, I sort of just glance over them and I write them down and look at them later so you can sort of hear my live reaction to things. Apparently, it says here, Niantic have announced that Volbeat and Illumise have now swapped locations in Pokemon Go. Since launch, they haven't moved out of their usual area except as part of events. Today, you'll now be able to find Illumise in Europe, Oceania and Asia, and Volbeat in Africa and the Asias, and it was swapped before. But there's an edit by Cerebi that says Niantic have now deleted the tweet indicating the change. The change may not have been intended to happen right now and could happen sometime in the near future. So, okay. Apparently that was a mistake from Niantic, which is surprising. I don't think they've ever really done that before. That's very interesting. So hopefully that's a little bit of a teaser for upcoming for an upcoming event where Illumise and Volbeat sort of switch locations so the other people can get them in the areas where they can't. So that's pretty cool. For all you people who are really focused on completing the Pokédex, that's big news. That should be big news. Like me, I love completing the Pokédex in Pokemon Go. That's like the main reason I play it, and that is exciting to me. Let's see. Niantic have implemented a new feature following on from various promised features. For the time being, if you have a free research space and the time hits midnight, you'll get a piece of bonus research given to you without the need of visiting the stop. The research that has been shown from players in New Zealand is to transfer 10 Pokemon for 1 incense. So, I guess right now, I mentioned earlier that, I guess right now, Pokemon Go is the biggest thing because it's the most sort of popular thing right now, and it's the thing that I like talking about the most. But honestly, now that I think about it, there's a lot going on in Pokemon Go because of the whole quarantine situation, and I think that is relevant news. Because Pokemon Go obviously is very dependent on walking around and going outside and being active. That's like its whole business. And right now, because of the quarantine, we can't. That's old news. But so I am happy to talk about Pokemon Go when these things are happening because it sort of revolves around the whole basic function of the game. You know what I mean? Let me see. So the Go Battle League 2, number 2, has been announced. Here we go. Go Battle League 2 Season 2, or Go Battle League Season 2 has been announced by Niantic. They will run from May 1st. Okay, so this is already going on, but with a change. It has a new Premier Cup will run with Master League. The cup prevents the use of mythical and legendary Pokemon, but has no CP cap. The Great League will run from May 1st through May 25th. Ultra League, which is going on now, by the way. Ultra League will run from May 25th through June 15th. Master League and Premier Cup will run from June 15th through June 29th. And all leagues will run from June 29th to July 6th. Finally, Season 3 will begin on July 6th at 20 o'clock UTC. In addition to this, they've announced some tweaks to rewards with Stunfisk at rank 4, Rufflet at rank 8, Scraggy at rank 9, and an Avatar pose at rank 10. In addition to that, the ordering of rewards has changed, so you'll get an encounter on Win 3 on the standard track and Win 1 on the premium track. I don't understand any of that. Hopefully, people who play Pokemon Go League will understand that. There is also some changes to moves in trainer battles. Drill Run requires less energy to charge. Moonblast requires less energy to charge and does less damage, but has a chance to lower the opponent's attack. Wild Charge's energy requirement has been reduced, but damage increased. It also lowers a user's defense. Trainer battles can now be done with QR codes regardless of friendship level or distance. You can send challenges to good friends and higher regardless of siddance. I think that's supposed to say distance, but it says siddance at the start of Season 2. A lot of changes. A lot of balance changes coming. I didn't expect that. That's very interesting. Seems like they're sort of nerfing and buffing certain moves. I mean, I guess that makes sense. If it's like a championship league, they have to sort of do balance changes and stuff. And there's some rewards, apparently, which is cool. Very, very cool. So I never really took part in the Pokemon Go League. I don't really battle a lot in Pokemon Go. That's not really my thing. But hey, if you're into that, that sounds pretty exciting. Season 2 and Season 3 on July 6th. Speaking of that, actually, I noticed things go through June. I was wondering, this is a little bit off topic, if you don't mind me saying, is there going to be an Evocast episode on my birthday? I don't know. Let's see. So today's episode, the episode that I'm recording right now, will be on the 13th of May. I'm recording this on the 12th. Next episode will be on the 27th. Okay, no, it'll be my birthday is on a Wednesday, but an episode won't be released until June 10th, like a week after. So it's in the middle of the week. My birthday's on June 3rd, by the way. I was just wondering. I saw June and I'm like, am I gonna have to record an Evocast episode on my birthday? Because if so, I want to do something special for it. But I don't have to worry about that. No worries at all. Cool. Anyway, enough about that. There are some Pokemon Go research events going on later in the month. Niantic have announced the next Pokemon Go events for May 2020. First, the Research Breakthrough Reward has been announced. From May 1st, 2020 to June 1st, 2020, you'll get a Shinx, which gives bonus Shinx candy. Niantic have also announced the Spotlight Hours for May. Shellder will be available on May 5th, Sunkern will be available on May 12th, Poochyena will be available on May 19th, and Bronzor will be available on May 26th. Amazing. We only got a little bit of Pokemon Go left. Don't worry. I promise I'm not gonna talk about Pokemon Go the whole time. Throwback Johto is live. The Throwback Challenge 2020 Kanto event. I know I said that I was really excited about doing that. I tried. Okay, I tried to do it. I was really excited about getting a chance to do Mewtwo, and like I mentioned last time, Mewtwo is like the only Pokemon in the Kanto Pokedex that I don't have, and I still have not been able to get a Mewtwo. I tried to do the research tasks. I live in the middle of gosh darn nowhere, and I wasn't able to do any of the research tasks. So unfortunately, I did not have a chance to get Mewtwo. Maybe in the future, sometime. I've missed like every one of my chances because every time that I can, it always happens when I'm home, away from college, which means that I can't. So unfortunately, I still haven't been able to get my hands on Mewtwo, but the Throwback Kanto event is over, and there's now the Throwback Johto event, which is going on right now, I believe. Let me check the exact dates. Ahead of the commencement of Johto Throwback to 2020, it begins at 1 p.m. tomorrow local time. This is happening. This was released on May 5th. So from May 6th, there was so May 6th was the day that the Johto Throwback event happened. And it's going on until I don't know when, probably pretty soon actually, because I think it was happening like I'm pretty sure it was happening like from like I know the Kanto Throwback event ended on like May 8th, so like it probably is not going to be around for too much longer on the release of this episode, by the way. So if you want to do the Throwback Johto event, I would. I'm not even going to try because knowing me, I'm just not going to be able to do it because of where I live, which sucks, man. I wish I could do more Pokemon Go stuff, but it's fine. There are some new codes coming from Facebook, of all places. I didn't even know that like Pokemon Go had a Facebook. Like, I figured that they did, but I literally did not even like think about that fact. I was surprised when that happened. I was like, okay. I mean, it makes sense, but like, I didn't expect Pokemon Go to do stuff through Facebook. I mean, they do stuff through Twitter like all the time. So doing something through Facebook is pretty reasonable. I just didn't think about it. So it says Niantic have released 3 new codes through Facebook advertising to get various items in the game. There's an extremely long code here. I'm not going to read it out. But there's 3 of them. One of them gives you 30 Pokeballs. One of them gives you 30 Great Balls and 30 Pinap Berries. And the last one gives you 30 Ultra Balls, 30 Max Revives, and 30 Pinap Berries. Oh, it appears that the codes have now expired. Dang. This is on May 5th. So, like I've said in the past, due to the nature of this podcast being bi-weekly, a lot of the times some of this stuff is like already expired by the time I get to talk about them, and I think this is the case. So, sorry about that. If you were excited about that, they've already expired. There's a new box that you can get for 1 Pokecoin. It's until May 11th. Okay, never mind. I'm not even going to talk about it then. I'm not even going to like tease you guys about these new Pokemon Go boxes that have already expired. I'm sorry. It's it's fake news. It's news that have already passed. There's no reason even talking about it. Oh, here's a big thing. There are new ways to get Pokecoins due to the whole quarantine situation. Niantic have announced a change in how Pokecoins are going to work, starting soon in Australia as part of a trial. With a worldwide rollout after the trial, you'll be able to get 55 Pokecoins every day. However, rather than earning 6 coins per hour spent defending a gym, you'll now only get 2 coins per hour, one every 30 minutes. To counter this, there will now be various features you can do each day to gain 5 Pokecoins for completing all the tasks. One of them is make an excellent throw, evolve a Pokemon, make a great throw, use a berry to help catch a Pokemon, take a snapshot of your buddy, catch a Pokemon, power up a Pokemon, make a nice throw, transfer a Pokemon, and win a raid. This feature will be run as a trial, so Niantic will be paying attention to feedback. So, if you're interested in that, give some feedback. That sounds really cool. Pokecoins are kind of hard to come by now that the whole quarantine situation is happening because you can't go out. Most people can't go out and do gyms. Me, because I live in the middle of nowhere. So that'll be good. I mean, most of these are like catch Pokemon, make an excellent throw, which I'm not going to be able to do because there's no Pokemon around here, but I digress. And finally, last of the Pokemon Go news. Congratulations, you made it through. You made it through the Pokemon Go stuff. There's only one more, I promise. A limited research day event featuring Snubbull is starting to run in. Oh, it happens on... okay, it already happened. Dang it. So it happened from May 9th. It happened on May 9th. It featured a special timed research focusing on Snubbull, providing 60 different tasks and 68 total chances to get Snubbull with increased shiny odds. Man, I wish I knew about this when the time came. It's alright. Okay, and that's all for the Pokemon Go news. We made it through. Most of this stuff was stuff that had already expired. I apologize for that. Like I said, nature of the podcast, nothing I could do about it. And we can finally get on to something a little bit more interesting. There was a new TCG revealed. It is called... Let's see, what is it called? It is called Rebel Clash. Today marks the release of the second Pokemon Sword Shield TCG set. The set contains 192 cards of various Pokemon, including various Pokemon V and Pokemon VMAX. It is made up of the Religious Clash and VMAX Rising sets from Japan. Our card listing with the associated card decks have been updated with the details of the set. This is Cerebi, by the way. So yeah, there's a new TCG released. This got released on May 1st. So like that's happening. That's going on. You can get the new TCG. Speaking of TCG, there's one that has been revealed, not released yet, but it's going on soon. This was on the 12th, today actually, so this isn't out yet. The Pokemon Company have officially revealed the next set for the Pokemon Sword and Shield TCG. This subset, Infinity Zone, is being released on June 5th and features a variety of further Galar Pokemon, including the first Eternamax Eternatus card. As such, our card listing, blah blah blah, Cerebi stuff. So, cool. There's a new TCG coming, Infinity Zone, which has Eternatus in it. And there was the Rebel Clash TCG released at the beginning of the month. So, that's very fun. And last but not least, the Pokemon Company released today is Nintendo's quarterly financial release, and it comes with various sales data for the Pokemon 3DS and Switch games. As of March 31st, the Pokemon game sales are as follows. Pokemon X and Y have sold 16.45 million. Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire have sold 14.27 million. Pokemon Sun and Moon sold 16.18 million, and wow, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon only 8.77 million, almost half of Pokemon Sun and Moon, which isn't surprising. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee have sold 11.97 million, and poor old Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX only sold 1.26 million. Sad. But the big daddy of the Pokemon Pokemon sales, Pokemon Sword and Shield, 17.37 million, now having outsold Pokemon Black and White, Ruby and Sapphire, Sun and Moon, and X and Y. Is Pokemon Sword and Shield the most sold Pokemon game? I doubt it. The first generation of games sold, let's see. Okay, no. So Pokemon Red and Blue sold 31 million. Wow. Dang. Yeah, that's a lot. Apparently, so the second most is, wow, Diamond and Pearl at 17.67. That's actually less. That's actually more than Sword and Shield. So right now, as it stands, Pokemon Red and Blue is the most at 31 million. Diamond and Pearl is the second most at 17.67 million. And Sword and Shield is creeping up with 17.37 million. Only 0.3 million, I guess is the best way of putting it, in order to surpass Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. So maybe that'll happen in the future. Who knows? That is very exciting, actually. We will see. Let's see what the least. Let's see. The least. Oh, that's sad. Pokemon Emerald, 6.32 million. I mean, 6 million is still a lot for a game, but like, it seems like a lot of the the quote unquote sequels, like Pokemon Crystal only sold 6.3, Pokemon Emerald sold 6.3, Pokemon Black and White 2 only sold 7.6, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon only sold 8.7. So like, it seems like the sort of predecessors or the preceding games, sort of like the quote unquote sequels, sell like half of what the original games sell. So maybe Nintendo will sort of heed that warning and not do that anymore, which is something that they haven't done since Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, or they haven't done really since like Black, White, Black 2, and then they finally did with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon again, and it flopped. I mean, I wouldn't say 8.7 million sales is a flop, but considering it was like almost the same exact game as Sun and Moon, but you know, still, it's up there. Cool. All right, well, that is it for the news for today. And I'm going to do something a little bit different today. Considering the nature of today's episode of Extreme Evocast, I'm going to flip-flop the segments around a little bit. And we're going to actually talk about, I'm actually going to do Move Tutor first today. Normally I do, in terms of the little segments that I do in the middle and at the end of every episode, we normally do Random Pokemon of the Week first. And then later at the end, we ended off with a Move Tutor, but I think we're going to start off with Move Tutor today and end the episode with Random Pokemon of the Week. Sort of mix it up. I want to do that every so often to maybe if people don't listen all the way through to to Move Tutor, maybe people can get a sort of a taste of what it's like. So here we go. Today's move for Move Tutor, everyone's favorite segment, we talk about a random move every episode, is number 209, Spark. Spark is a damage-dealing electric-type move introduced in Generation 2. Spark inflicts damage and has a 30% chance of paralyzing the target. It is a physical move, it has a PP of 20, power of 65, and an accuracy of 100%. Spark can be used as part of a Pokemon contest combination, with the user gaining an extra appeal point if charge was used in the prior turn. It is also part of a contest spectacular combination, with the user gaining an extra 3 appeal points if charge is used in the prior turn. I mean, that makes sense. It's electric. Let's see. It is a cool move in terms of contests. Speaking of contests, let me see. In the games, most of the descriptions seem to just be an attack that causes paralysis, an electrified attack that may paralyze the foe. The user throws an electrically charged tackle at the target. This may also leave the target with paralysis. Interesting. Let's see. There's some descriptions in other spin-off games like Mystery Dungeon. Inflicts damage on the target. It may also inflict a targeted enemy with a paralysis status condition. A Pokemon with the paralysis status has slowed movement and is incapable of action. Yeah, I mean, it's all the same stuff. It's like an electric attack. It paralyzes them, or it has a chance to paralyze them. Let's see. Nope, there's like no trivia or anything like that. It's literally just Spark. I mean, what else is there to say? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. There's really not that much else to say. Like, it's been used in the anime, it's been used in the games, it's been used in the manga. That's it. It's just Spark. It's a very sort of basic, Pokemon move. It's just like an electric type move. It's Spark. I like how Spark redirects here. For the leader of Team Instinct in Pokemon Go, see Spark, go. We're not going to talk about him, but he's the leader of Team Instinct. His name is Spark. I forgot that his name was Spark. Kind of a like, you know, like you name your kid Spark, and I guess they kind of have to be an electric type trainer, huh? Or maybe it's a nickname, who knows? But like, his name is literally just Spark. I mean, what else is there to say? Cool. All right. I'm sort of not used to, continuing after that. Normally this would be the time where I say thanks everyone for listening. Hope you have a great day. And, but we still got stuff to talk about. And I think, before we go into the main topic of today's episode, I want to sort of do a little bit of self-promotion, but also a little bit of a teaser of what's to come. So I have finally gotten my hands on Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX, and I'm very, very excited to play it. Like I said in past episodes, I will play it on stream, and then after I'm done with the whole game, at least the story, I'll talk about it on an Evocast. It probably won't be for a while. I doubt it'll be next episode. It might be the episode after that, but I can't promise anything because I'm a little bit sort of full in terms of schedule when it comes to things to talk about on Evocast, or not things to talk about on Evocast, things to stream. I don't want to play the game on my own time. I really want to stream it. I told everyone that I would be streaming it. You can catch my streams at twitch.tv/Lillieceon, by the way, if you want to watch me stream Pokemon games. Right now, though, I'm like totally full of things to stream. I'm like in the middle of playing Banjo-Kazooie and Doom Eternal and all that stuff, so I haven't had time to stream, and I don't want to have too many games going at the same time. So once I'm done playing probably Doom Eternal or something like that, I'm going to stream Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX. So I don't have like a date for you, but I do have, I can at least tell you that I am going to be streaming it at some point. So look out for my Twitch. Give my Twitch a follow. Get notified when I stream stuff like that. Or you can follow my Twitter at twitter.com/Lillieceon or at Lillieceon, I guess. Lillieceon. You can get updates on when I stream. I'll probably say eventually like when I'm going to be starting Mystery Dungeon DX. So if you're interested in watching me play it, I'm very excited to play it. I mean, like, Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue Rescue Team has been like my childhood, so I'm extremely excited to play it. And yeah, I will sort of update you as that goes on, and as soon as I'm done playing the story, I will talk about it in Evocast. So, today's episode is probably going to be a shorter one, judging by the amount of time I have left, or judging by the amount of time that has elapsed so far and what I have left in the episode to talk about. I'd like to just sort of discuss a few things about this podcast and something that I sort of mentioned earlier, which is the grace period between like updates in Pokemon and big events in Pokemon. Because of course, as you know, Pokemon game events or Pokemon game releases are huge. Like Pokemon Sword and Shield, I talked about Pokemon Sword and Shield for like 16 solid episodes before it actually came out. And like I'm still talking about it to this day, obviously, because it's like the new thing. The Pokemon games tend to be, they come out, or like you have such a long time to talk about them and think about them until they come out, and then they come out and you still have so much stuff to talk about. But Sword and Shield have sort of died down already. And that's not including the DLC that's going to be coming out pretty soon, and very soon, actually, in fact, in less than a month, I presume, because, or a month, maybe a little more than a month, maybe a little less than a month, because it is scheduled to come out in June. It doesn't say a date or anything like that, so it just says June. I'm hoping it's like later June, maybe not early June, because I have a lot of stuff going on right now, and I don't know if I'm going to have time, because I want to stream it, obviously, when it comes out. And of course, I will also talk about that on Evocast, the Isle of Armor stuff. I'll probably talk about it very extensively. I'm very excited. But I already sort of talked about the DLC. You know what I mean? It's like, I already talked about the DLC. I've already talked about a lot of the stuff that there is for Sword and Shield. I mean, like, there's definitely some topics that I could go back to. Like, I could talk about the characters. I could talk about stuff. I mean, I sort of already did all that in my 3-episode long review of the game. But like, I'm sort of in this situation where, like I said last time, the kind of the sort of not rut. You know what I mean when I say rut. It's not like, okay, I don't want y'all to think that I'm getting bored of this podcast. I mean, I look forward to recording for this podcast every 2 weeks. I'm very, very into this podcast, and it is not going to be stopping anytime soon as far as I can control that. But sometimes I struggle to think about things to talk about. And like, starting this podcast, I kind of had this thing in mind where like, oh my god, I could talk about Pokemon forever. There's so many things I could talk about, and like, I have a few ideas of things that I'd like to do. Like, of course, we still have type review going on. That has like 12 more episodes to do, or like 13. I can't remember if last time was the 4th or the 5th episode. I think it was the 4th, but like, or no, it was the 5th, I think. It doesn't matter. You know, I still have so many things to talk about in type review. And, like, you know, those can take up an entire episode. And I love doing type review. And, you know, I talked about Pokemon types. I talked about Pokemon in Smash. I want to do sort of, like, reviews of the Pokemon movies and reviews of, like, spin-off games and stuff. And talk about the spin-off games like Mystery Dungeon and Ranger and Pinball and Rumble and, you know, all of those things I could talk about. But like, when the time comes, I struggle to think about things, and I struggle to come up with ideas. Not that, like, you know, this isn't like, oh my god, Evocast is so hard, I can't think of anything to talk about. I'm sort of just relaying to you my thought process. And like, you know, I do give this podcast a lot of thought, and like, there are certainly a lot of things that I could talk about, but in the moment, it's hard to sort of come up with a topic that I could talk about for a long time. And I know that'll change over time. And today was sort of that episode where I was totally stumped. I mean, I just came up with like a whole bunch of ideas that I could do. But I want to sort of, because like, I did type review last episode, and I also did a movie review last episode, and like, I want to avoid just being a review podcast, because that's not what I envisioned for this podcast. You know, I could talk about the Mystery Dungeon games, I could talk about Pokemon movies and stuff, but like, they're just going to devolve into reviews, and I don't want them to be reviews. I want them to be reviews, but I don't want this podcast to just be reviews. And I want to have more ideas, like that one episode where I talked about, I think it was like, I named it an episode, like I named it like a little like thing, like it would be continued. I think it was like, what was that called? I don't remember. Hold on, let me look it up. It was the episode where I talked about the underground. It was like the let me see if I can find it. I have it on YouTube here, on Spotify. What did I call it? Can't find it. This was a while ago. It was a while ago. It was like episode what? It was like, oh yeah, Forgotten Features. That's what it was. Forgotten Features, Sinnoh Underground. So in episode 9, I talked about, which was, wow, a long time ago. When was this episode released? this episode 9 was released June 27th, 2019, almost a year ago. And like I talked about the underground, and I talked about how stuff like it was really, really fun. All that jazz. You can go and listen to the episode if you're interested in listening to it. And like I want to do more stuff like that. I want to come up with sort of topics that are forgotten about, or things that are more obscure, or like even then more specific. I want to sort of explore these topics in Pokemon. And what I'm trying to say here is that if anybody has suggestions on things that you would like to hear me talk about them, let me know. Because I am open to anything. I mean, of course, like I said, I have ideas, I have review ideas, I have talk about the movies, the spin-offs, all the types, stuff like that. But I don't want that to just be this podcast. And when there's times like this where I've already talked my head off about the DLC. I've already talked about Pokemon Sword and Shield. And obviously, when the DLC comes out, we can start talking about it a little bit more. It'll probably take up like 3-4 episodes, maybe even, of just like content, that spawns from the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC. And I'm excited for it because that gives me something to talk about. But in times like this, where I've sort of exhausted that resource and I'm just kind of waiting for it to come out, this is the time where I'd like to talk about these sort of things. And it kind of falls into a pattern. I talk about these big events, and then every so often I do like type review. I talk about a movie. I talk about a spin-off game. But there's these dots of these episodes, like today, which is being filled with me talking about the fact that I can't think of anything. And this what I'm calling a grace period between events where I just have nothing topical to talk about. And these are the times where I like to talk about these sorts of things. These sort of obscure or specific things. And this is the time where I really struggle to think of topics. So I'm asking you, my fans, my listeners of Extreme Evocast, if you are listening right now and there is something in a game, something of either, whether it be a very broad topic or, something extremely specific, talk about the unknown, talk about, the contests, talk about this feature in Pokemon that I want to hear you talk about. Tell me. I would love to hear your opinion about what you want to hear my opinion on, or what you want to hear me talk about. I'm always down for new segments. I'm always down for new themes of episodes, like forgotten features, like type review, stuff like that. I'm always down to sort of bring these things into like a series. And I love sort of planning these series out and talking about them in depth. I just need help. I need a little bit of help. And I know that it's unprofessional of me to ask my listeners for things to talk about. I was considering even opening up like a thing where people could send me questions and I could answer them on stream. Like, what do you like? Not on stream, in the podcast, in Extreme Evocast. Like I could say, you could sort of say like, hey, Lillie, how do you feel about this? And like, it's something that I wouldn't be able to put an entire episode's worth of time into. Like, how do you feel about the Trick Master in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire? What do you think about Wally in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire? Those are just ideas that I'm throwing out there. And if there's anything very, very specific that you'd like to hear me talk about, or if there's any questions that you'd like to hear answered from me, leave them in the comments of my YouTube channel, leave them or in the comments of, the episodes of Extreme Evocast on my YouTube channel, which is Lillieceon, or, send me a DM on Twitter, whether it be on my Extreme Evocast page or on my main Twitter, or leave a reply on the post that I make about Extreme Evocast. Send me it anywhere. You could even send it to me, like, you could mail me or email me if you know what my email address is. Just ask me things. So if there are things that you'd like to hear me talk about, and questions that you may have about Extreme Evocast, about things you want to hear me talk about that I can't fit, or that you feel won't fit into an entire episode, ask me, because I want to get more involved with my listeners. Because now that we've reached episode 31, there are a pretty sizable amount of people listening to this podcast. And that excites me. And that gives me an opportunity to talk to you guys more and get your feedback on things and talk about the things that you want to hear me talk about. So yeah, that was sort of, it was less of a topic for today. This is going to be a super short episode, by the way. We are like almost done. That was less of a topic and more of just getting my, sort of spilling my heart about how I feel about these certain things, about this, what again I'm calling a grace period between topics and news and things like that, big events in Pokemon stuff, where I struggle to think about topics. And that is where I want you guys to come in, and you, the listener, and I want you to request things for me to talk about. It's very important. I mean, obviously, if nothing happens and if I don't have any questions or I don't have any topics that people suggest, I can always come up with things. And that is what I was going to do today. And then I thought, hey, why don't I get these ideas out in an episode? Instead of maybe making like a Twitter post where not as many people would see it. I feel like addressing this situation in an actual episode of Evocast is probably the best way of sort of getting this out to you guys. And I know, and I apologize for the fact that I don't really have an actual topic for today's episode. But I feel like this is important to talk about, important to discuss about the way this podcast works and get a little bit meta here, and actually talk about how the way that Pokemon works, the way that things come out in Pokemon sort of reflect the way that I make this podcast and the way that it gets released and and directly affects the enjoyment of the people listening. And I think that's important enough for me to mention in a full episode of Evocast. So thank you so much for sort of indulging me in this time, in this little, like I said, unorthodox, but also not unorthodox, because it's very topical about this podcast and the things that go around here. So thank you for sort of letting me do this. And we're going to end the episode with Random Pokemon of the Week, everybody's favorite segment where we talk about a random Pokemon every episode, and then that will be goodbye for me. So today's Pokemon is number 379, Registeel. Registeel is a Steel-type legendary Pokemon introduced in Generation 3. It is not known to evolve into or from any other Pokemon, and along with Regirock and Regice, it is one of the 3 legendary titans of Hoenn. So Registeel is steel, like I said. It has Clear Body and Light Metal as its hidden ability. It is genderless. It has a gender ratio of nothing. It is 6'3", or 1.9 meters. Oh, taller than me. Dang. And it is 451 pounds, or 205 kilograms. I mean, it's made out of literal steel. What do you expect it to be light? Let's see. Registeel, I've always really liked the Regis. Maybe because I really like Hoenn, because Hoenn is my favorite generation and has a lot of my favorite Pokemon in it. But I've always really liked the Regis because they kind of they kind of like, they're kind of obscure, and I do really enjoy them a lot, and I like their whole thing. They're just like, they're like autonomous Pokemon that were built millions of years ago by ancient civilizations, and they protect. I mean, their whole thing. Maybe we can talk about we can do a whole episode about the Regis. I think that would be fun. Talk about the Regis, talk about their history, talk about their origins, which is in sort of Hebrew legend, stuff like that. And I think that would be interesting because, like, the Hebrew golems have writing on their heads, and they're sort of servants of higher powers. And the Regis have this like design on their faces, which is reminiscent of Braille, which is sort of their whole thing in Hoenn. In the Generation 3 games, how you find them, you go through like the Braille stuff, all that stuff. We can talk about that in an episode. I think that would be fun. Because they have a deep history. I mean, both in the real world and in the Pokemon universe. There's also Regigigas, who we can talk about. I think that would be fun. But yeah, I mean, it's Registeel is cool. It's not my favorite one. I do like Reggie Ice the best personally, but Registeel's pretty cool. Let me see. What is there to talk about with Registeel? Registeel. Okay, so Registeel has some things in has some lines in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team, which is topical because I'm going to be playing DX pretty soon. I really like its phrases in this game. It's like it's written in a different font than the rest of them, sort of implying that it's robotic. It says, "I am a life form born far under the ground. My health is down by half. I am on the brink. I will disintegrate from metal fatigue." And then, leveled up. You can count on me. It's very optimistic in that last little bit. I didn't expect that from such a robotic being. I mean, who said robots can't be optimistic, I guess? But, it's like, I am on the brink. I will disintegrate from metal fatigue. And then, you can count on me. It's like, it's a very sort of different tone of voice altogether. I like it. Gives a lot of personality. That's, like I said, I've always really, really enjoyed the Mystery Dungeon sort of phrases that they give out. They give a lot of personality to Pokemon that you wouldn't normally think have one, like Registeel, for example. Let's look at some trivia. In the non-English European versions of Diamond and Pearl, Registeel's sprite was edited because of its arm. The arm's original position is reminiscent of the Nazi salute? Excuse me? In Pokemon Platinum, the sprite was changed for all regions to the continental European variation. Wow. It really was. It is kind of doing that, huh? I mean, I don't really want to draw too much attention to it, obviously, because I don't really want to talk about Nazis on my Pokemon podcast, my pure Pokemon podcast. But go take a look at that for yourself. Yeah, it certainly is doing that. Let's see. In the international version of Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, there is an unobtainable Registeel doll programmed into the game. It was unlockable with the Japan-exclusive Regi Dolls Decoration Set e-reader card. Wow. Registeel is tied with Probopass for the highest base special defense stat of all Steel-type Pokemon. And Registeel shares both of its standard and hidden abilities with Beldum and its evolutions. Really? Oh yeah, Clear Body and Light Metal. What does Light Metal do? Halves the weight of Pokemon with this ability. Wow. So I guess Registeel technically weighs less because it's like 400 pounds, but realistically it's only like it's 450 pounds. So realistically it's only like 225 or 102.5 kilograms. Wow. Light boy. Almost as heavy as me, or heavier than me, much heavier than me, like 30 pounds heavier than me. But still, that's I never expected a 6'3" thing made completely of steel would be almost as or a little bit heavier than me. That's kind of sad. I gotta lose some weight. Jesus. Let's see. That's it for the trivia. Registeel's shiny. Ugh. It's kind of not very good, huh? It's like it literally just replaces the lighter gray metal body with like a seafoam green. Why? It doesn't really change in the 3D games. So like okay, actually, so it seems like the metal, like the dark gray stripe in the middle changes to a little bit more of like, again, like a green tint. It kind of just looks like they added a green tint to it. Like Tranquil. I'm still not over that, by the way. Huh. Dang, I mean, it's just green. That's very reminiscent of Tranquil, but like, I mean, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more unique, I suppose. It's not just green. It's like a seafoam green and like the dark gray sort of metal strip in the beginning, and its hands are a little bit more darker, a little bit more contrasted, but it's not very good. It's like a 5 out of 10. It's pretty garbage, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, 5 out of 10. no change really, no differences really between its 3D sprite and its 2D sprite. So that's fine. So yeah, 5 out of 10 across the board. Not very good, Registeel. I'm disappointed in you. All right, and finally, let's talk about Registeel in Smogon, in competitive Pokemon. So, Registeel, of course, is steel. It has a clear body and light metal. Clear body prevents other Pokemon from lowering this Pokemon stat. Makes sense. And it isn't rarely used, which is okay. You know, not the worst, not the best, somewhere in the middle. Registeel has an HP of 80, an attack of 75, a defense of 150, and a special attack of 75, and a special defense of 150. So, gosh darn, Registeel has some bulky there. I mean, it's literally made of steel. I would be surprised if it didn't. And an absolutely horrible speed of 50. So, this is written by Dirter22. Thank you, Dirter. Registeel's bulk lets it easily wall many specially offensive Pokemon in the tier, like Diancie, Shaman, and Swellow, while serving as a blanket check to many Pokemon that can only hit it neutrally, especially special attacks. This, in tandem with access to helpful utility moves such as Stealth Rock, it also allows it to be very consistent entry hazard setter. Registeel can also cripple opposing Pokemon with status without ever being overpassive, as it can stall with Protect and Toxic and deal solid damage with Seismic Toss. On the other hand, its typing means that it is weak to the ever-common Ground, Fire, and Fighting-type moves, specifically being pressured by Salazzle and Zygarde 10% with their super effective stab moves. In addition, it is susceptible to Taunt, which makes it susceptible to Pokemon like Noivern and Mismagius. So, this is a specially defensive set with Seismic Toss, Toxic, Stealth Rock, and Protect. I assume you could also do a defensive set, considering it's also equally as defensive. Leftovers as its item, Clear Body as its ability, which is very good. Can't get stat changed, which is very, very cool. Calm Nature, which is special plus special defense minus attack. 252 HP EVs, 4 defense EVs, and 252 special defense EVs. So, yeah. Registeel. Seismic Toss. Why did I say Seismic Toss? Probably because I was looking at the word Seismic Toss. So, yeah, it's Registeel. It's a defensive Seismic Toss, Toxic, Stealth Rock, Protect. Sort of a wall, which is not surprising, considering it's 150 defense and special defense and steel typing and being a legendary. There's also an underused tier, which is literally the same thing. I don't know what's different between it, but it apparently is also used in underused, but I'm not going to go over this. It's not available in Sword and Shield, unfortunately. But this is a Sun and Moon set, by the way, so it's a little bit outdated, but still, if I was only going by Sword and Shield standards, I would have nothing to talk about for most of the random Pokemon of the week. So I'd like to, even though it's a little outdated, some people still do competitive battle in the Sun and Moon rule set, like with on Pokemon Showdown and stuff. So not surprising. All right. That is going to do it for me for today. Sort of a longer episode than I expected it to be, considering with what we sort of had going for us this time. But I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!